Viewers, before this begins, drop your location and your local time in the comments. It's always wild to see a story echoing across so many corners of the globe at once. Now picture this, a Tuesday morning on a mountain ridge where the mailbox isn't aluminum, but carved from a hollow log, a quirky touch that screams solitude. Inside that rustic box sat a crisp white HOA envelope, sharp edges, sterile font, a corporate paper tiger. Alex slid it open with a thumbnail, read the fine print, and almost laughed himself off the porch. They claimed the northwest corner of his deck was trespassing on common land, fining him $50 a day. That's like saying a polar bear wandered into your kitchen and owes rent. What the committee didn't know was that Alex wasn't just some amateur building a dream cabin. He was a geospatial analyst, a man who spends his days turning dusty plats and satellite imagery into maps so precise you could use them to drop a coin into a canyon from orbit. He owned not only the plot his cabin sat on, but the entire ridge, 3,000 acres of it, every tree and stone signed off in county records going back to President Grant. Historians still argue whether Grant really liked paperwork, but his signature meant Alex's deed was ironclad. The HOA letter was signed by Brenda Miller, Queen Bee of a cul-de-sac kingdom called Whispering Pines. She ran the Architectural Review Committee like it was the Supreme Court, except with worse wigs and more obsession over mailbox colors. Alex gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe this was a clerical slip. Maybe the HOA's legal team confused his ridge with a neighbor's yard gnome. So he rolled up his deed, printed a clean survey map, and walked into the HOA's monthly meeting. The clubhouse smelled of chlorine and reheated casserole democracy's natural scent. Brenda sat at the head of a table flanked by two nodding ornaments board members chosen apparently for their synchronized necks. She looked exactly like Alex had pictured, sharp haircut that could slice bread posture like she was auditioning for the role of smug duchess in a soap opera. When Alex unrolled his certified survey, tapping the black and white lines with calm precision, he thought reason would win. Instead, Brenda slid a glossy real estate brochure across the table. Bright colors, clip art trees dotted walking trails. It was basically a kindergarten art project masquerading as law. "This governs Whispering Pines," she declared. Alex, half choking back laughter, pointed out that her map had the same legal standing as a pizza coupon. But Brenda wasn't swayed. "We've operated with these documents for 15 years. She sniffed like tenure-made fiction fact. Her minions nodded dutifully. The meeting ended with Alex dismissed his reason, bouncing off arrogance thicker than a concrete culvert. By the next week, the escalation began. Fines piled past $500, legal letters with hollow threats arrived, and worst of all, polo-shirted enforcers planted HOA property signs 50 yards onto Alex's land, one of them practically under his porch light. Standing on his ridge that evening, sun staining the sky orange, Alex felt his frustration solidify into resolve. Brenda thought she was defending mulch. In reality, she'd declared war on a cartographer armed with the truth, and Alex was about to make the map that erased her empire. Alex sat at his computer that night with a mug of black coffee cooling beside him, the glow of his monitors throwing long shadows against the log walls. This wasn't about a deck anymore. It was about cartographic combat, and he was the general who knew every inch of terrain. He opened the state's digital archives, clicked through county GIS databases, and layered historical plats like a digital archaeologist. Each overlay felt like peeling back decades of arrogance. Somewhere between the hand-drawn surveys of the 1950s and the pixel-perfect satellite images of today, the truth was waiting. He dug into the registrar's office records documents that smelled of paper dust and bureaucracy. There he photographed linen plats with faded ink notes scribbled by surveyors who probably chain-smoked through the Cold War. Historians still argue whether surveyors or pirates left more cryptic notations, but Alex knew how to translate both. He aligned creek bends, rock outcrops, even century-old trees. Slowly, the discrepancies revealed themselves. Whispering Pines hadn't just fudged a boundary, they had built their pride and joy on fiction. The nature trail they bragged about in newsletters. Three-quarters of it snaked across Alex's acreage. That scenic overlook with Instagram Sunset Square in the middle of his 40-acre parcel. But the real kicker came when Alex strapped on boots, grabbed a GPS unit and a magnetometer and hiked into the brush. Hours of searching paid off with a metallic ping, a rusted iron rod, a survey pin hammered into the earth in 1957, exactly where the deed described. He found another, then a third. When triangulated, the results were catastrophic for the HOA. Their grand stone entrance, the cheery welcome sign, the first 100 yards of road, even the corner of their clubhouse and pool fence, they were all sitting comfortably on Alex's land. It was the kind of revelation that made him laugh out loud alone in the woods. Brenda had picked a fight over a deck while her entire fortress rested on enemy territory. She thought she was Napoleon at Waterloo. In reality, she was a kid playing Risk with pieces missing from the box. Alex's next move wasn't anger, it was artistry. He transformed raw data into devastating theater. The first map, stark black and white legal boundaries from the county plat. The second, a masterpiece overlay showing HOA's cheerful blue lines wobbling drunkenly against the solid red lines of law. It looked like a child's crayon doodle laid over an architect's blueprint. The third, the showstopper. Every trespassing structure was highlighted in crimson: the gate, the guardhouse, the clubhouse corner, the scenic overlook. It wasn't just evidence, it was a visual indictment. For a touch of human corroboration, Alex spoke with George, the soft-spoken gardener who had lived in Whispering Pines since day one. George recalled how surveyors had argued with the developer when the gate was built only for the slick boss to wave them off. Just make it look right. That anecdote was the nail in Brenda's coffin, proof of willful negligence. Alex then hired Davidson, a property rights attorney infamous for dismantling developers with surgical precision. Davidson grinned at the maps like an art critic before a hidden Picasso. "This is beautiful," he said. "What's the plan for the performance?" The plan was Brenda's own undoing. In 2 weeks, the annual HOA meeting would be her stage. She thought she'd humiliate Alex in front of her loyal subjects. Instead, he would unveil her entire kingdom's foundations as a lie on maps taller than a man shrouded like paintings before a grand reveal. The clubhouse buzzes like a beehive the night of the annual HOA meeting. Folding chairs scrape linoleum, neighbors murmur, and Brenda holds court at the podium as if she's announcing royal decrees instead of petunia budgets. Alex wheels in 3 towering easels draped in gray cloth, drawing a ripple of curiosity. Brenda smirks, mistaking his props for amateur theatrics. She drones through agenda items, trash etiquette, door paint violations, even a 5-minute tangent about lawn gnomes. Alex stands calmly at the side, hands folded, waiting. Finally, she calls him forward with syrupy sarcasm. "Mr. Thompson has some creative theories about our community boundaries." A chuckle ripples through her loyalists. Alex steps up, nods once, and says evenly, "Thank you, Brenda. These are not theories." He unveils the first map with a theatrical sweep. The county plat stares back in stark black lines. "This," he says, laser pointer steady, "is reality. These lines are the law." The room falls still, homeowners craning to see. Brenda crosses her arms, the smile thinning. Alex moves to the second easel. The cloth drops. Blue sales map lines wobble erratically over solid red legal boundaries. Gasps fill the room. People lean closer, recognizing their own lots, realizing their HOA had ruled them with a doodle instead of law. Historians still argue whether theater or evidence sways people more, but in that room a crooked sales map lost to hard geometry. Brenda snaps, "Preposterous. Our documents are binding." Alex tilts his head, calm as a glacier. Are they? He pulls the final cloth. The third map glows with crimson trespass. The gate, the guardhouse, the clubhouse corner, the trail, even the overlook. Silence crushes the air. Homeowners turn wide-eyed toward the very walls around them. Alex lets the image breathe before speaking. The problem isn't my cabin on HOA land. The problem is your HOA built on mine. Brenda sputters denial, cracking into shrill panic. Forgery lies, but Alex's calm voice slices through iron survey pins from 1957, confirm every line. And my attorney, Mr. Davidson, sits in the back, head swivel. Davidson nods once, cool as a verdict. The crowd erupts, not laughter, not applause, but questions. Our fees went to maintain his land, the gates on his property. Brenda shrinks under the weight of their fury. Alex raises a hand and silence returns. I could bar you from your homes. Instead, I'll offer a 99-year lease for $1 annually, provided this board is replaced with one that respects truth. The room explodes in whispers, but the decision is already made. Brenda's reign collapses, not with a vote, but with universal rejection. Within days, she resigns. Within months, a moving van swallows her house. George the gardener becomes the new president, the kind who values fences because he knows exactly where they stand. Alex signs the lease symbolic rather than punitive, with one condition: a written apology and rescinding of all fines. Whispering Pines rewrites its bylaws, orders a professional survey, and for the first time its homeowners know where their properties truly begin and end. The petty kingdom is gone, replaced with transparency born of one man's maps. Alex still walks his ridge at dusk, cabin deck beneath him solid and uncontested. Sometimes hikers wave from the trail's edge, a quiet acknowledgement of the man who owns the mountain. He waves back, not out of triumph, but out of peace. Because in the end, the battle wasn't about decks or gates, it was about truth. And truth, once mapped, leaves no room for arrogance. The pacing slows, the air softens, sentences stretch like fading daylight. Alex's story drifts into something quieter, gentler, a reminder that knowledge can be both shield and lantern. Imagine the ridge at Twilight Pines, whispering in the breeze, the last glow painting the sky in amber. There is no shouting, no letters, no HOA. Dictates only the hush of land at rest, the boundaries marked and respected, the kind of silence that seeps into your bones and steadies them. His victory isn't loud anymore. It is patient, woven into the soil. The ridge holds steady through seasons, storms, and sunsets, as if rewarding the man who proved its lines with care. Let that image carry you gently into your own evening. Close your eyes, slow your breath, and picture the quiet certainty of a mountain that knows exactly where it begins and ends.